Take me back to the garden. Lead me back to the moment I heard your voice. Lead me back to communion. Lead me back to the moment I saw your face. It was all so simple. It was easy to love. No space between us. It was easy to trust. You are closer, closer than my skin. You are in the air I'm breathing in. 'Cause here's where the dead things come back to living. I feel my heart beating again. Feels so good to know you are my friend. 'Cause this is the garden. Here in the place I find you close. 'Cause this is communion. Here in the place I'm fully known. It was all so simple. It is easy to love. No space between us. It is easy to trust. You are closer, closer than my skin. You are in the air I'm breathing in. 'Cause here's where the dead things come back to living. I feel my heart beating again. Feels so good to know you are my friend. And this is where I'm meant to be. Me and you and you and me. And I don't have to prove a thing. You've already approved of me. And this is where I'm meant to be. Yeah. Me and you and you and me. Oh God, I don't have to prove a thing. No, you've already approved of me. Oh, this is where I'm meant to be. Yeah, me and you and you and me. Oh, I don't have to prove a thing. Thank you, Lord, 'cause you've already approved of me. Oh, you are closer, closer than my skin. You are in the air I'm breathing in. Oh, here's where the dead things come back to living. I feel my heart beating again. 'Cause you are closer. Oh, you are closer, no. I feel you closer, no. Oh, no. 'Cause you are closer. I feel my heart beating again. Oh, it feels so good to know you are my friend. Yes, it does, Lord. Feels so good to know you are my friend. Oh, you never leave me. Feels so good to know you are my friend.
Courtney sang one of my favorite songs, and those of you guys that know me have a lot of favorite songs, and Communion is one of my favorite songs right now. It really a huge reflection of God's word and what relationship with God is like. Communion is the meaning of it goes back to the word koinonia, and this isn't part of my notes today, but I really wanted to share this. That is intense fellowship with God. Like, communion's not just taking bread, breaking it, and eating it, and then drinking the juice after that, or the wine, depending where you're at, or a congregation, all that, you know how it is. But it was more than that. It is intense fellowship with God. It is remembering everything that He is and everything that He is to you. And I think sometimes we lose the awe and wonder of that. And I was thinking about today, before I even recorded this, thinking about, I guess lack of better words, the magic of things when you were a kid, or the awe and wonder of things when you saw it. Before you went to Disney World, there was this place called Cliffs in Albuquerque. It was just a small amusement park, and that was the coolest place at that time. And when I was a kid, and the roller coasters were huge, I was afraid to get onto them and did not want to do that. And there's another place called Hinkle Family Fun Center that was Disney World to me. Laser tag in the little dime city or a nickel city, whatever. It was the coolest thing. And getting older, you walk through there and you play putt-putt, you're done, and it's not a big deal. You feel like you just wasted a bunch of money when you went through there, but it's not like that with God. And I feel like it could be a terrible illustration or not, but I feel like we've lost the awe and wonder of the simple things that God made for us, like bread. Like, why would God call Himself bread, the living Word, or bread, the bread made into life, or whatever He calls Himself? All these things, like, it all goes back to bread. Like, there's better foods than that. Like, Jesus could have chose Himself His lobster or salmon, all the fish they had, prime rib. Like, take this prime rib. Like, Jesus could have chose something way better, but He chose bread. And He also calls this His body, and He calls us His body. Just ordinary things. And since the beginning, He sent manna from heaven, which is bread. And also, not only that, He mentions, man does not live on bread alone, but every word that comes out of the mouth of God. That is the real bread of life. That is the real nutrients of your life. That's what keeps you going. But why would He compare Himself to bread? Why would He, something so ordinary? And why would He compare us to that as well? So I'm going to read with you guys in Matthew 26. If you guys didn't know, chapter 26, verse 26, it says, "And as they were eating, Jesus took bread, blessed and broke it, and gave it to the disciples and said, 'Take, eat, this is my body.'" Such an intense thing. We've read this before, and those of you guys have taken communion before, you understand this. You've read it a lot. You know that you shouldn't eat this as the unclean heart. And I do want to explain what bread is a little bit more. When Jesus was prophesied about even 700 years ago, before this happened, what was He meaning about the bread? What was this bread for? What was the remembrance we're supposed to be doing, and how intimate that was supposed to be when we actually did remember that? When you read through this and you see it, like, every time you take this, do this remembrance of me, and you see it and you're like, it's nice, and then you eat the bread and drink the juice, and it's not a big deal. But I want to get back to the awe and wonder of God and what this means today, and why He blessed it and why it was blessed. Isaiah 53, 1 through 12, and this could be a little lengthy, so bear with me as I keep my head down and read. It says, "Who has believed our message? To whom has the Lord revealed His powerful arm? My servant grew up in the Lord's presence like a tender green shoot, like a root in dry ground. there was nothing beautiful or majestic about his appearance, nothing to attract us to him. And just like bread, it was very ordinary. Nothing to attract us to him. Not too much about his physical appearance. He was just Jesus at that time. There was much more than that. It says there was nothing beautiful or majestic about his appearance, nothing to attract us to him. He was despised and rejected, a man of sorrows, acquainted with deepest grief. We turned our backs on him and looked the other way. He was despised and we did not care. Yet it was our weakness he carried. It was our sorrows that weighed him down. And we thought his troubles were a punishment from God, a punishment for his own sins. But he was pierced for our rebellion, crushed for our sins. He was beaten so we could be whole. He was whipped so we could be healed. All of us, like sheep, have strayed away. We have left God's path to follow our own. Yet the Lord laid on him the sins of us all. He was oppressed and treated harshly, yet he never said a word. He was led like a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep is silent before the shearers, he did not open his mouth. Unjustly condemned, he was led away. No one cared that he died without descendants, that his life was cut short in the midstream, but he was struck down for the rebellion of my people. He had done no wrong and had never deceived anyone, but he was buried like a criminal. He was put in a rich man's grave, but it was the Lord's good plan to crush and cause him grief. Yet when his life is made an offering for sin, he will have many descendants. He will enjoy a long life, and the Lord's good plan will prosper in his hands. When he sees all that is accomplished by his anguish, he will be satisfied, and because of his appearance, my righteous servant will make it possible for many to be counted righteous, for he will bear all their sins. I will give him the honors of his victorious soldier, because he exposed himself to death. He was counted among the rebels. He bore the sins of many and interceded for rebels. And you read through all this, and someone so simple went through all of that. And like I mentioned last week during the midweek, the last thing I said was, put your hands in Jesus. Just like he took the bread. Just like he took something so ordinary, and he made it more than that. And I'm going to encourage you guys this week again to put your hands, put your life and your hands in your heart in the life of Jesus. Only he can make your ordinary situation more than that. Maybe some of you guys, like I was saying earlier, like maybe you had better plans in life, like dreams to have a better job or all these things, and now you have this job. You know what I mean? And you feel like God can't do anything with that. But put your life in his hands. He put you there for a reason. It may not be what you planned. It may not be what you want, but that's the cup that you have. That's the blessing of God's life in your life. That you could be in an ordinary place, just like bread. Something so ordinary, something you see all the time. Not a big deal to go and get bread at Walmart. It was a big deal when God put it in his hands. And when he compares us to that, when he says, this is my body, and when he calls us his body, we also get to carry that blessing that God gave us. That when he broke that bread, it was a symbolization, and it really does show that what we should be like. That it's okay to be broken before God. That means you're open to God to move in you. Let God move in you today. Open up your heart today. Let him bless you. But don't just let him bless you. Don't just stay there. Don't just take in knowledge in your life. But also go. Just like God did with the bread. He blessed it, he broke it, and then he gave it. And the same thing he's doing to us is that he gave us and he put us in these situations. That let him do his work. Let him finish what he started in you. So, I hope that you guys are encouraged today to not just look at something that was so simple anymore. When you read through Matthew 26:26 again, that you see it as, this is my life. That he's not just taking bread right here. He's taking my life. Just like the beginning of time in Genesis 1:27, when he first created us, that he took us, he blessed us, He called us good. And the same thing with your life in His hands. That He took you, He blessed you, and He gave you to this world. Now go and be a blessing to someone else today. We love you guys. Thank you for listening today.